I'll open up here. I think we all know why we're here, and that's basically to dispel the rumors that were going around last night that he was going pro. He signed a 3-year scholarship extension. Oh wait, that was a dream I had last night. No, I say this from the standpoint, I think that this is a tremendous day for me personally. It's a tremendous day for Ohio State, for our program, and most importantly, as we always do in recruiting, it's a great day for DeAngelo and his family. I think from the standpoint of what he has meant to this program, I've said this, I don't know if he has been truly appreciated what people got to witness this year in terms of his play. I think that there was maybe some stuff taken for granted as a coach and a staff. We never did that. We knew we had something special, and I think from the standpoint of just sheer enjoyment of coaching this young man for a season has been one of the greatest moments of my life. And as sad as I am to see him leave our program, I'm excited because I feel in my gut, when guys come in here, I got a real good feel if they're going to be a great player. When they leave here, I got a real good feel if they're going to be a great player. And I think he has a future at the next level that, it's going to be something special. So I'll let these guys talk, and we can open up to questions here, or DeAngelo, if you want to make a statement.
First of all, I want to thank God for this opportunity. I want to thank Buckeye Nation and all the coaching staff, the strength and conditioning, the academic Chad, everybody, my dad, my family. I want to thank everybody for being here once. And it's a pleasure to be a Buckeye. And once a Buckeye, you're always a Buckeye. So I'll never forget that. So.
Mike. DeAngelo, I think a lot of us, when Coach says maybe underappreciated, those of us that saw you certainly appreciated what you were. And I remember a time in January going, well, probably not going to see a second year out of you. But this took a while for you to make your decision. How tough of a decision was it for you? How did you weigh the options? And one thing I know about you, you love your time here. How much did you weigh being a student versus, what's coming at the next level?
I didn't take a long time to make this decision for any attention or for anybody to criticize me or whatnot. It was more like I didn't know. I wasn't for sure, and I wanted to get with my family and the coaching staff and really take the time to make this decision. It's hard leaving my brothers, my teammates, leaving. Like I said, this coaching staff is crazy. So like I said, I really want to take the time to think about my decision and think about the process that I have to go through to be the best player I want to be. So.
DeAngelo, could you, and maybe you can jump into Antonio, what was the last month of the process like for you? What were you guys going back and forth on? What was the discussion like? And just kind of maybe give us a little window into what making this decision was all about for you.
Like I said, it was tough. Knowing that you have the opportunity to be a pro, knowing you have the opportunity to come back and get a free education and play under Coach Mata and his coaching staff is a tough decision. Everybody wants to be a pro, but not knowing what it takes to really be a pro, and knowing that once you make it to the league, it's not easy staying in the league. And me understanding that at a young age that I have this opportunity made it that much harder just to leave these guys. So the process is tough. I haven't made a decision on which agency I'm going with, or what I'm gonna do, where I'm gonna work out at, or anything like that. I'm really just enjoying the process to say that I have this opportunity, and just taking it slow as possible.
He answered it, yeah.
DeAngelo, I was just wondering what the NBA scouts, the people that you talked to, what they told you about your game, what they liked, and also what they wanted to see you work on as you approach the draft.
Me and my dad and coaches, we had a meeting. They had a meeting with the coaches. They got the paperwork back talking about what I need to work on and my strengths and weaknesses. I'm not sure what they said. I think my dad was the only one that attended the meeting. I'm not sure what they said, so just go from there.
Yeah, DeAngelo, the question I ask, your last 3 years of high school, you went away to the academy, and it just seemed like maybe from that point on you had a clear vision of what you wanted to do and how you were going to get there. Just talk about the tremendous sacrifices you made to go away from your family for that period of time to put yourself in this position. It's all seemed to pay off, those sacrifices that you made.
I mean, I give the credit to my dad. He's seen it before I did. Me going off to high school at the age of 15 to a boarding situation, it was I questioned it heavily every night. I didn't feel like I was wanted there, but I mean, he always pushed me through it and just gave me the advice to keep pushing. And I mean, Coach Bowles recruited me. He knew what I went through to get to this position I'm in today. But like I said, I want to give the credit to those guys. It was hard. It was a struggle, but it was probably the best decision I've ever made. And
just follow up, what was maybe your best memory of the 9 months, a year, whatever it's been that you've been here at Ohio State?
I would consider my best memory walking into the locker room and seeing my name on my locker. Months before that, I didn't think I was gonna be here. It was a struggle getting here, honestly. So just seeing my name, just knowing that was a blessing in disguise. So that was probably my best memory.
DeAngelo, back to the decision. How much did the different draft projections enter into your decision? Did that influence you at all? And also, has anyone talked to you about position in terms of what's best for you, point guard or shooting guard, any of those kind of things?
The draft board, I wouldn't, throughout the year, I didn't really watch that stuff. My brothers or somebody would text me and say, hey, they got you at number 2 now. They got you at number 4. And I would, how could I say this? I would positively say I don't want to hear that. You know, I'm prepared for the next game, the next practice. But I mean, they understood what I was saying, what the meaning was behind it. But I mean, my name was buzzing. I couldn't run from it. I couldn't run from the attention. So I really, like I said, I took it slow just to make the decision. So.
One other question: if you could pick out one non-basketball thing from your experience at Ohio State that you can take with you, what would that be?
It would definitely be in the summertime when we participated in the Kid Again event. I mean, it was a great event. The host for the event, they did a great job of setting that up. And just being around those guys, not knowing that they don't have the opportunity to do what we're doing, and we got to realize that we can't take this for granted, you know. So that was probably the best thing for me.
You've been through this multiple times with Craig, Michael, list goes on and on. Was with DeAngelo making a decision, you know, it took a little bit longer, I guess. Was it any different than the past times?
You know, it wasn't. And the one thing that I did, and we did as a staff, is we just left him alone. And the only thing I told him was, I don't know how much longer you're going to be here, but please enjoy the rest of your college experience, because there's nothing better than what's transpiring, you know, a block away over there. And, you know, I wanted to let him make the decision. I wanted he and Antonio to sit down, because what happens, I think, in a lot of times in this process is I become the bad guy. Because everybody's telling these two, like, he's going to tell you to come back because he wants to coach it, and that wasn't the truth. We said from the beginning, if it was right, we would tell him to go. I think the other night when we sat down and I started the meeting with the two, and I said, hey, look, I think you need to go. I could see kind of the relief on his face, like, oh God, thank you. But I say that from the standpoint, you know, what Antonio did this year is kind of hard to explain, because he let us coach his son. He never interfered, and I think that speaks volumes in terms of what he was able to do this year as a player. Because he just told him, listen to your coaches. There was he wasn't coaching from the stands. He wasn't running around trying to make things happen. He just let us coach him. And I think, you know, one of the things when you go through this process, when you have a guy, a freshman, and he keeps both feet in to the program until the final horn sounds, I got no issues. And this young man, he kept both feet in, you know, maybe to a fault. But I think from the standpoint that tells you who he is and how committed he is. And that's why I have great faith when he gets to where he's going, he's going to put both feet in, he's going to be great.
And every play is different. And you mentioned before that one of the best years of your life getting to coach someone like the talent that DeAngelo has. But in looking back at the other just one and dones, DeAngelo, where do you, I'm not asking you to rank him, but where does he fall in place as far as that?
Well, I think he's maybe at the top. Now, you have to look at Greg. Greg was the most unique individual I've ever coached and ever will coach. There'll never be another one like him. But I think from the standpoint of, I had a great feeling that Michael was going to be a tremendous pro. And I think the big thing, I used to tell people this, when he left, he went to Memphis, they didn't have a big guy. And I said, if Memphis had a big guy, he'd be a top 5 point guard in about 3 years. And you look now, and Michael is maybe a top 3 point guard, and they've got a big guy. What I love about him, what people love about him, is he can do so many different things. You know, somebody asked about the position he's going to play at the next level. I don't think that that's determined. They love his size at the point guard position. They love his ability to make guys better. But with that size, he can also play off the basketball. I think that's what makes him dynamic.
This may be early to ask you this, but there's been a lot of discussion about whether players should stay in college for 2 years, whether they should be made to stay in college for 2 years, whether they should be able to come out of high school. We're in the situation right now where it's 1 year. Do you have any opinion on that system at all? It seems to work. It's obviously seemed to work out for you. You're going to, you know, everybody says you're going to be a top 5 pick. Just wondering, do you feel pressure? You know, like when you're a top 5 pick, everybody says, well, he's got to go. I'm just wondering, is the system kind of, do you feel trapped by the system, or do you?
Not at all. I mean, I feel like the guys that worry about that before they even play one game or have one college practice, those guys struggle throughout the year because that's all they're thinking about is, oh, I have to live up to this hype, I have to live up to this potential that everybody's talking about. And I just feel like it goes with your situation. Like, my situation was great. I came in and I didn't think about, hey, I'm trying to be a top 5 pick. I'm trying to be a first team All-American. I'm trying to be this, that. I just came in like, coach, lead me. I'm doing whatever you need me to do. I mean, you can go back from interviews 2 years ago when I wanted to come to Ohio State. I talked about, I'm going to do whatever coach needs me to do. And it played out well for me. So I never felt trapped at any point of the season.
D'Angelo, with so many NBA guys here during the summer, and you see guys like Kevin and Jared and Mike Conley, and Greg was walking around earlier, did you talk to them, not for advice, but what it's like in the league and what to expect if you do, before you made your decision, if you do go, or just what it's going to be like for you now that it's going to be a business?
I mean, I always try to get positive advice on like what I could do to better myself. I mean, when I talk to those guys, it was always like I'm asking consistently, what can I do to better myself to play in this league? I really didn't start asking those questions until probably a week or two ago. It wasn't months in the summertime where I was like trying to prepare to get to the league. I was just trying to be a great college player at the time. So knowing that I have the opportunity to be a pro, I feel like those questions will easily carry on, and I'll probably catch up with those guys the best way I can because I know I have the opportunity to play against those guys. So.
D'Angelo, I asked you about the scouts, and I'm just wondering if you could critique your own game at this point, where you saw the most improvement, what you really tried to work on throughout the season, and what do you think you need to work on yourself going into the NBA?
I mean, I know when Coach Mata recruited me, he told me I was going to be a point guard, and I was like, I don't want to be a point guard. No way. I questioned my ability to dribble the ball and to lead guys, and me being at Montverde, when we had to handle adversity with our 2 top point guards leaving the team, I had to play point, and my handle was, I had to get better. And when I got here, my confidence was through the roof with the ball in my hand, so it forced me to be a point guard. And I mean, when people ask me what position do I want to be, I just want to be a basketball player. I just want to be on the floor too. So if it's me being a shooting guard, a point guard, whatever they have me at, I just want to be on the floor. So.
With him coming in and coming out and only been a year, but what did you see the most growth in with his game?
Well, I think I've seen a lot of growth, but I tell this story periodically. We had finished recruiting, and I came in on Sunday night, and our guys were playing in here, and I hadn't seen them for a while because we'd been on the road in July. And when I walked in, he had complete control of the gym. It was his court, it was his gymnasium, it was his game. They were playing by his rules. They were running the system he wanted to run, and I thought, wow, this kid has a chance to be really, really good. We would joke in practice because one of the things that I prided myself many years ago as a player is I was a terrific passer. And he would throw passes in practice, and I would say to him, I said, Doc, I'm the only guy in the gym that saw that pass besides you. And late in the season, he threw a pass one time where it was off of a horns action, a pick and roll, and he literally threw a bounce pass, and the ball stopped on the floor, and the guy made the cut, and then all of a sudden, when he was open, the ball came back up. And he turned to me as he was running down the floor. He says, "You didn't see that one, did you, Coach?" And I said, "No, you got me on that one." But I think just overall, you go back and we laugh about this. I was telling a young man and his family this other night. You go to the second game of the year against Marquette. He had 7 turnovers in the game, and the coaches were freaking out and like, "Hey, get him out of the game." He's and I said, "No, he's fine. He's fine." And he cared about his mistakes. He didn't want to make the same mistake twice. And to have that growth, to have that understanding, I think that was probably the biggest thing I saw, just the mental side. I think that all great players have a different style off the court. I would come into my office downstairs, and during the season he'd be laying on the couch with his hands up in the air or behind his head, just laying there, and he'd be like, "Hey Thad, what's going on in practice today?" And we would sit and talk about everything under the sun. And I think that's the type of kid he wanted to know what we were doing in recruiting. He wanted to know what was going on in college basketball, and kids that have that hunger are usually great players.
You talked about that when you guys had the meeting. You said you've got to go. When did you first have that inkling? Was there a game or where you looked at D'Angelo and thought to yourself, "Well, this is probably 1 year"?
Well, it was probably our preseason scrimmage at West Virginia where he had 33, and he hit the game winner. And I kind of scratched my head and said, "Uh-oh, this kid." He was doing things that we hadn't even talked about yet in terms of drill work. It was real early scrimmage. But as he progressed in the steadiness. He struggled in the Louisville game shooting percentage-wise. He struggled in the North Carolina game shooting percentage. But he always came back and got going. And, the more I watched him after practice, I would sit, he'd come over usually to this basket and work on his game kind of by himself. And I just marvel at what he was doing because he had an imagination. You knew he was in a game. You knew he was going against somebody. I don't know who it was. But, the West Virginia scrimmage said, boy, if he plays half this well, he's going to be one of the best guards in the country. And he got better even from there.
And, if Urban Meyer sees that Joey Bosa is great as a freshman, he gets to say, wow, he's great. I get him for 2 more years.
Right.
Like when you see that in D'Angelo, I'm sure you're excited, but is there a part of you that's like, he's too good?
Well, there is and there isn't. But the one thing, Doug, I will say is I hope that people know in recruiting I'm a man of my word. And we told these guys up front, and I think this is what took them time because they're people of their word. They told us this is a 2-year commitment. That was Antonio's plan. D'Angelo was always 2 years. But there were times where literally the coaches in it, I turned to him and said, "Boys, you better enjoy this because we ain't got much longer with what he just did right there." And so I got to the point where I just kind of enjoyed the game. There was times in a game where I could say to him, "Take it over." And he'd look, wink, and he would do it. And I think from that perspective, that's what I'm going to miss probably the most.
And D'Angelo, you were just out in LA for a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Any visions when you were out there?
I was starstruck from Jerry West and those guys that were also out there. I never once thought about, hey, I could play here because it hasn't hit me yet, So it still hasn't hit me. So like I said, I'm just enjoying it.
Antonio, there's been a lot of talk about how the process went and your involvement. How tough was that for you? First of all, now that we know there was a 2-year deal in place? And also, can you talk a little bit about the way Thad had handled this, and if that's a relief to you and what that meant to you?
The process wasn't very hard, just we knew what we wanted. And my son just loves to play basketball. He just want to play basketball. So my commitment was keep everybody away from him and just let him play basketball. We'll deal with the rest when it's time. If God permits it, then we'll deal with it. But other than that, we just was focused on coming here, being a leader, listening to his coaches, doing what you have to do in the classroom, and getting better. That's it. And from the first time they recruited us, Coach always said he could be one and done. And I said to Coach, I would like him to do 2 or more. And he's always said it from the first day. He could be one and done. And I said, I would like him to do 2 years. That's that, you know. And they've always been straightforward with me. And the reason why we picked this school was because he built a relationship with the head coach. He built a great relationship with the assistant coach, but it made him feel more comfortable and relaxed with, I know the head coach wants me just as much as the assistant coach. And once we made that bond and that connection, there was no other school.
D'Angelo, I'm wondering, there were other points of consideration, I'm guessing, for example, when you came out and you needed to go, is there a line, like, I'm in this stratosphere, or did you ever have a number in your mind as to where, like, if you were lottery picked, is that what you were thinking?
I mean, I know coming in here, I was like he said, 2 years. I was on next year's draft board, you know. So coming in, just playing games, not worrying about anything. Like he said, getting people away from me, just so I can just play basketball, listen to my coaches, and focus on academics. It made things easier for me. So when I turn the TV on and I'm just watching like another Big Ten team play, and I'm trying to get away from myself basically, and I'm all they're talking about. It's just like, this is crazy. Like I never envisioned this. I never expected it to happen. And I don't mean to sound arrogant or whatnot, but you got to be truthful with yourself. And I knew after so many games, our captains, my teammates were looking at me like, we need you to lead us. We need you. And I had their backs just as well as they had mine. And I just was like, it might be my time to go. You know, so.
Another aspect of this is you're 19 still, right? I think a lot of people don't understand that basically all of your professional teammates will be adults, maybe have an adult lifestyle, nightlife, whatever. You won't be able to do that right away. Now, you seem like you're obviously a well-centered kid, but if you thought about that, you might kind of be on your own on the road.
I mean, when you think about it, I've been on my own since I was 15. I mean, I had my family supporting me, but I lived in a boarding school for 3 years. I mean, I came as soon as I graduated from there. I came right here, and I was in a dorm situation. So it forced me to mature at a young age, and it helped me to this point. I'm in the situation I'm in today. So I mean, honestly, it all worked out perfect. I couldn't ask for a better situation.
God, I know not to take away from D'Angelo today, but when a guy like D'Angelo leaves, kind of has a ripple effect, I guess, on how you build your roster. You obviously added a guy late in the 2015 class. I'm wondering how much of your realization that D'Angelo wasn't going to be here played a factor in you guys adding a guy late to that class.
Yes, that was once he got rolling, and we said, you know, I said, hey, look, he's probably going to be out of here. And the coaches kept saying, no, Antonio said 2 years. And I said, no. We felt at that point that we had better get busy, because if things progressed, then he was probably going to have the opportunity to leave, and going down, and I still don't know if I can say the young man's name. I can. Getting Jaquan, you know, he and D'Angelo were very close through the process, and D'Angelo helped us get him. Which I think once again speaks volumes to how committed he is to our program, but that was something we definitely looked at and said, hey, it's going to be a great opportunity, losing Shannon, losing D'Angelo, and we were fortunate that it worked out that way.
And D'Angelo, I know you've known Jaquan, you guys played against each other in the high school nationals last year, and I think just because of the timing, fair or not, people are going to look at him as your replacement. Have you talked with him at all about that, about those expectations?
I mean, I always tell myself if you tell the truth, you don't have to worry about making up for it, you know. So I always told him, this is the best place for you. If I'm not here, if I'm here, it's still the best place for you. You're gonna get better. You're gonna be able to showcase every cylinder of your game. And he's similar to me. He's a big guard that has incredible vision. He can score the ball. Like we're similar in so many formats. So I just told him straight up, like you can go through the hype of being getting recruited by all these guys, go to all these official visits and having something to talk about. But the more you get committed, the sooner you get committed to Ohio State, the better you'll be, the less stress you'll have, and you'll be the best player you can be.
I just had one more. D'Angelo, do you think it's an exciting time? Obviously, you have contracts waiting for you and the challenge and dream of playing in the NBA. Do you think it's going to be more of a challenge for you personally or on the court? Because it's a whole new world and a step up for somebody.
I mean, I've been through so many different situations, so many obstacles that God's put in front of me, and I've always overcame them. So knowing that I would take this next step and knowing that I'm playing against grown men that have children and so many other priorities, and my only priority is play basketball and get better every day. I feel like it puts me ahead, you know. I mean, a lack of experience would definitely help me, but I feel like I'll overcome any obstacle that's put in front of me.
D'Angelo, I'm just wondering, how you came with a big group of freshmen that you're behind. How hard is it? You mentioned leaving your brothers. It's going to be hard. How hard is it leaving them behind in the future of the program? You feel like, hey, they're not going to miss a beat. What is your thoughts?
I mean, we always considered ourselves the real 230. That's our dorm room. So it was seniors. The group of seniors were before us. They considered themselves the original 230. So we always went back and forth. But I mean, everything we do it together. You know, it's rare that we're not together. You know, if it's on the bus, if it's walking to the airport, whatever it is, we're always together. So like I said, the bond that we built, it is gonna hurt me. I know it's gonna hurt me, and I don't know if it's hit them yet that I won't be there next year, but it definitely will hurt me just not being able to see those guys every day or having something to laugh about or talk about, you know, so it's definitely hard.
And that, I'm just wondering, there were several times this year where you talked about his knowledge of the game, forgetting about the skill, but seeing things before they happen, talking to you in timeouts about, we need to run this. How rare is that, especially for a freshman? Is that part of what makes him so?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I think because, you know, a lot of players have answers, but they can't go out and execute it. He could have the answer and then go out and carry it forth. But no, I think, you know, I remember one of the first practices we had, we were doing some shell work defensively, and he comes up and he asks a question. And I'm like, that's next. And I remember saying, like, he's one step ahead of the game, and that is very, very rare at the time he was 18 years old to be thinking that way. You know, with a Maryland game in here this year, Mark had hit some threes, and he comes in at halftime after the players are going out. He says, hey, run this action. He goes, Mark's on fire. He goes, I'll hit him every time. And we did. You know, Mark hits 2 or 3 more threes in the second half. But his understanding, his awareness of what needed to be done, when it needed to be done, is something that, quite honestly, I don't want to say he was born with it, but he does have a gift in that regard, in terms of seeing things before they happen, just situations, and just a, you know, tremendous IQ of the game of basketball. And that's always just so fun to coach and to see on a daily basis.
Now, if the dream you had last night was of D'Angelo Russell returning for another season, what do you think you were going to dream about tonight?
Well, I'll probably sleep like a baby tonight, wake up every 2 hours and cry. You know, no, I think from the standpoint of, you know, you do this long enough, and when I was a young coach, I dreamt of days like this. This is a goal achieved for me in terms of being a head coach, because I think the one thing I've always tried to be in this position is selfless. You know, I know his story. And I know everything that he and his family have been through. You know, to sit up here next to these guys today, it truly is an honor for me. It's an honor to say, you know, my hope is I'm trying to work. I want to hang his jersey in the rafters someday. Just in terms of, because I think he's one of the greatest to ever play the game at Ohio State, and he was only here for 8 months.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.